Welcome back to Beauty Marks Podcast, a space where we embrace marks acquired through our journey. My name is Elizabeth Savillon, and thank you for joining me on episode 42 of this podcast. This episode is honestly so special to me and so raw to me because it is a topic that comes up a lot and I've seen a lot of, and I definitely want to address it and want to talk about it because that is one of the pillars of something that I truly believe in, and have walked through since I started this podcast, which is about self love and taking care of yourself. Um, I have seen a lot of posts and things like that talk kind of about self love and taking care of yourself and what that looks like. But I've also seen people say that self love is selfish and putting yourself first is not the right way. That's not the best thing to do for yourself. And I think that why that is and why that like bothers people is truly because that's like putting boundaries to others. It's literally limiting someone to access you in a certain way, to control, to mess with your emotions, with your time, to mess with your mental sanity. And I know that some people don't like that, especially it can be family members, friends, in partners, relationships. It can be difficult adjusting to those boundaries when they are put. And in an episode previous to this, I talked about growing pains and how it can be very, very uncomfortable when you're changing or growing or your mindset is changing or you're evolving as a person, as we all do. And it can be very uncomfortable because you're pretty much have allowed something for such a long time. And then now you're saying, no, this is not the way that it should be. This is not what is right. Like you're kind of standing against the waves coming. And that can be very uncomfortable, and I know that when I was raised in church, and that was never a normal thing to say. Like you were pretty much sacrificing yourself. That's kind of the religion, I guess not the religion, but the upbringing that I was brought in is that you pretty much like self-sacrifice yourself for others. You are like Jesus and you love on people so much to the extent of ending yourself. Like whatever someone needs, you're available at all times. You are so at the disposition of other people's behavior. You have to justify it because we're all imperfect. And that actually really kind of messed me up because growing up, I feel like I didn't have, those boundaries in place of, wait, I need to take care of myself. Like, how about me? What are my needs? What are my wants and desires? And being nice does not mean being stepped on. Being kind-hearted or having empathy for others does not mean that you allow people to just treat you however and take advantage of your time or have you at their disposal or disposition at all times. And all of that mindset, of what a woman should do, when you should do it, how you should be as a daughter, in work, overextending yourself. Like I am literally a poster child of that, like just being very much people pleasing and not having boundaries. And it's insane that, when people kind of feel like when you're setting boundaries or when you're taking care of yourself, it's not right, is mostly because you are sustaining something for them that shouldn't have been put on you. So for example, in family dynamics, you can see that when your family is very codependent to you. So pretty much you are their source happiness. You are their everything. And so they expect you to fix all the problems, to be on call at all times. They don't know how to do anything for themselves. So they kind of throw everything on you, and they expect you to fix it and figure it out for everybody. And you kind of get guilted into doing stuff that for you genuinely don't want to do. In relationships, you're extended to the point that you are want to say no, but you just want to please that person, and you are willing to do whatever, even though it goes against what you personally want to do. Like you kind of put your needs secondary. And some people don't, especially in cultures, Latino cultures, we definitely have that tendency of, in our family dynamics, we see that people kind of overextend, and that's what love looks like. It's people overextending, working excessive amount of hours, not having boundaries with people, not dealing with situations. And so now, learning more about, boundaries, taking care of yourself, self-love, and taking care of your soul, because we can sometimes be walking around with so much unresolved issues of our own because we're so fixated on fixing and helping other people, that we're kind of like drowning in our own self, and so that went dark really quick, but it's real. And so self-love and care for yourself is not selfish. I just want to let you know that taking care of your mental health and taking care and taking some time and recuperating your thoughts and taking care of what you need to take care of for yourself as an individual, not as, for other people, is important and it is valuable. For those of you that are listening that always have solutions to people's problems, are caretakers, literally are probably caretaker to your family that take care of everybody's needs aside from your own. I want to let you know you are doing enough and you are doing amazing. And I don't even know how you do it sometimes, but you are killing it. But I need you to like take this episode and like look at yourself. So like sometimes we also, when we hear things, we like try to put that for someone else, be like, oh, they need to listen to this because if they heard this, they would change or like they would fix this. But sometimes we have to like look at ourselves because sometimes we are so fixated on other people's problems and helping other people and being there for other people when they need us. But like we need to like take this in. It's kind of like when a sermon's going and then you're like, ooh, if they would just hear this, like I just want to send this message to someone because they need to repent and they need to be better, when in reality you just need to take care of you and like internalize the message for you and apply it to your life. This is one of those messages for you. So to all the people that overextend themselves, that have such a busy agenda trying to accommodate for your friends, for your family, for your work, for your sanity, trying to get in some solo time sometimes seems impossible. um Coming from someone that has always preached about it, and I kind of saw it in myself and I'm like, wow, like I'm actually doing that, is when you talk about self-love and self-care and confidence, and I feel like all of that goes together, having boundaries, respecting yourself, valuing yourself, what does that look like? I would talk about that all the time, but would allow people to like step all over me or would allow certain treatment. You might be asking, how can I truly know if I love myself? And how can I show that and in my life? How can I show that in my life practically? And I came up with some little breakdown of kind of like a test for myself to know, like, am I really respecting myself? Am I really loving myself and valuing myself and giving myself that position? Um, you know, I am a firm believer, and I preach this on the podcast, that if you are whole and healed and secure inside, if you are dealing with the issues that you have internally, you are able to be such an amazing, functioning, whole individual to yourself, for your surroundings, and to others. So that internal work needs to happen no matter when you do it, but it needs to happen. That's why you see a lot of older people that haven't dealt with a lot of their either trauma, their issues, their resentment, their hurt, and that just lingers into other areas of their relationships, their work. So we are trying to be healed and whole. Okay, that's what we're trying to do here. 2021, that's what we're trying to do. And I think that beauty, even with this whole podcast, beauty of truly taking the time to do the work in yourself, that beauty shines through. That's when they say the whole glow up. It's really when you are taking care of yourself and you are healed and whole and happy from inside, and it reflects outwardly. Yes, you can do your hair, you can do your makeup, all that stuff, can fluff it up, but who is the true you when all that stuff is taken down, you know? And so, how can I love myself? You might ask. How do I know that I'm valuing myself? It is number one, saying no and meaning it. So when you actually say no, or you actually don't want to do something, you say no and you actually stick to that no. So if you genuinely cannot do something or do not want to do something, and your internal being is like, I really do not want to do this, then say no. If they're asking you to pick up a shift and you already are working 6 days that week, and you literally have no time and literally have slept 3 hours every night, we are going to say no to taking on an extra shift, to taking on extra responsibilities. So, not overcommitting yourself. You do a disservice to yourself when you are overcommitting yourself to the point that you have no time to sleep, no time to breathe. I get that things happen in life. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, but not at the cost of your mental sanity. That is where I stand with that stuff. Yes, I have sometimes a very busy schedule, but I do have to say that in the midst of my busy schedule, I have a cutoff time. So usually by like 7, 8, I'm not doing work stuff. If anything, I'm like more either exercising, or I'm watching something, or reading, or just kind of like unwinding. Like I need to have that time. Before, I was definitely would be working all the time of the night, and I would have a lot of anxiety. And now I just have a cutoff time. So that's like when I pretty much like disconnect. And then I'm like, you know what? This is all I can do today. I'll do the rest tomorrow. And that has actually helped me a lot, because I have taken that weight off myself and not overcommitting myself. So saying no when you and meaning it. When you say that you are not going to tolerate something, you actually stick to it. So if you tell someone, do not treat me like that, or the next time you do that, I'm really not going to be here. Do not invite me. Do not talk to me after that. Like you're kind of setting that boundary, stick to it. Because if not, people don't take you seriously. How many times do I remember myself telling people how they should treat me, and then they would do it, and then I would be like, well, let me give them a second chance. Maybe they had a bad day, they were going through something, and then the same thing happened again. And that's in friendships, family, relationships, all that good stuff. So definitely say no and mean it. And people will respect you for setting those boundaries more. The second thing, being okay with being understood. So not being okay with not being liked by everyone, and having perceptions of you that they make for their own selves, like people knowing only one side of the story, not both. Um, I think when you are someone that's at the whim of what other people think about you, you will be someone that will also always do whatever it takes to the end of yourself to make someone like you, which in reality, that most of the time, not everyone, you don't even like that many people. Okay, let's be honest. We don't even like, and I'm not talking about that you don't hate, we love all people, but you don't even vibe with certain people, and that's okay. So focus on the people that do vibe with you, that do love you, do care about you, and be okay with not always being understood, and that's okay. Um, so I think that also takes the weight of like valuing yourself and knowing what you bring to the table, and truly respecting yourself, and not trying to change yourself for what other people want of you or expect of you. That is very much freeing. The next thing is knowing what your needs are. I think when you truly can love and just truly value yourself and give yourself what you need, is when you know what your needs are. So like, not spreading yourself too thin, not like if you genuinely need something, if you need time, or you need someone to give you a day to yourself, letting people know that you need that time for yourself, letting people know, hey, you know what, between these times, do not bug me, I'm kind of stepping back, or I need to have this time to kind of get my mind together. I think over time, I used to not be like this, but now I definitely have become like I need my solo time to kind of think and be and just like journal my thoughts and kind of process my emotions. Before, I felt like I always needed to fill my time with people and fill my time with things that distracted me. But over time, I have been okay with being in my thoughts, like meaning like sitting with my emotions and kind of figuring out why I feel the way that I feel by myself, not always having to filter it through someone else. And so that time is very important. So if you are like me that needs that time, it is important to know what you need. And if you are someone that maybe needs social time, then making that a need. And I mean, knowing that need and doing that, knowing what your needs are. Some of us take so much care of other people. And I just want to let you know that you are worth looking after. Your needs do matter. You are not just made to complete and fix and be at the whim of someone else. Your needs do matter. And I think that that was very difficult for me because I was kind of wasn't given that space to think about my own needs because I was trying to make other people's needs met and need them happy, that I forgot about my own. Sometimes I remember when I would really not want to do something, or like I really thought it was wrong or something really hurt me, and because the other person didn't think it was bad, or because the other person thought it was like minimal, like what, like that didn't I didn't mean that, or like, oh well, you know what I mean, like, well, we'll do that next time, like kind of like minimizing and invalidating my own feelings. Then I kind of started like suppressing them and being like, well, maybe, maybe they're just going through something, so like I just, like maybe I'm asking for too much, or like maybe, um I just I'm too high maintenance. I'm too high maintenance. I'm too sensitive. And it's like, no, you're not. You're not sensitive. And if someone was to tell you that, and that goes into my next point, what are you allowing? How are you allowing others to treat you? Um, I would always talk about, taking care of yourself, loving yourself. And in an area that was hard with relationships, and like intimate relationships, like I started seeing how like I would say that I love myself, but I would allow people to treat me however they wanted, and I would be okay. And now looking back, I'm like, "Well, girl, no. No, we ain't doing that." Like, what? Like justifying people's actions and always making excuses for harmful behaviors. If you are always justifying people's treatment of you, you do have to question, do you genuinely value yourselves? Do you genuinely feel like you deserve that treatment? Do you genuinely feel like you know what value you have? If you're allowing people to treat you a certain way, to talk to you a way that you would never expect or tolerate from anybody else, but you're allowing this person, it can be a family member, it can be a partner, a friend, to do so just because they are quote unquote going through it. I want to challenge you to question that. If you do care about yourself, make sure that you are not justifying harmful behaviors, because when we allow things in our life, when we allow attitudes or behaviors of others in our lives, we're pretty much teaching someone how they can treat you. And then we can't say, oh, wait a second, like, don't treat me like that. But it's like, but you've always tolerated it. What do you mean? What am I doing? And that was very hard for me to truly accept, that I had allowed so many people to just, say whatever, do whatever, act a certain way, like have a little tantrum. And then they wouldn't talk to me. And I'm over here like, wait, like, what can I do to fix it? Like, wait a second, like, why are you acting this way? I didn't do anything. Like, and they just weren't emotionally mature. They weren't in tune with their emotions, so they, were not healthy, and so they were just throwing that out on me. And it's honestly goes down to the way that I saw myself. And so that's why I say that, because I've been there so many times that I'm like, now working through a few things, I'm seeing where I'm like, I think that if you genuinely love yourself and genuinely value yourself, we wouldn't allow people to treat us a certain way, and we would know what we deserve in certain areas. And sometimes we have to be reminded. Sometimes I think that you have to go through, I saw a quote that was like, sometimes you have to be treated bad to be known, to be treated good, like to know what it is to be treated good. But I feel like we don't have, we can skip that part. What we can do is we learn how we should be treated by learning healthy communication, by learning healthy boundaries, by learning healthy relationships, um, knowing our needs, knowing what respect is, knowing all those things. And then we can look at our situation and be like, wait, this is how is, I know that that's not good. And sometimes we know what's healthy and what's not. Or even if maybe you weren't taught, you know when things don't feel right. And when you know, it's like, why am I crying for most of the time? Like, why is this person like beating me down or picking on my flaws all the time? Um, or why is it a competition with this friend? Why does it feel this way? I know I shouldn't be feeling this way. Like, why is my body like acting this way? Like, I know I feel so tense. Like, why is that? The last thing is how you can value yourself and make sure that you're truly loving yourself is by being fully yourself. And that comes with being around the right people and space. And sometimes if people don't respect that, sometimes you need space from that, and letting people know where they can cross the line, so that means not shrinking yourself to keep peace with people, not changing to try to fit into a certain box, um, validating you and your feelings, what you bring to the table, knowing your worth, knowing that you are so valuable, and having grace with yourself, the way that you speak with about yourself, super important. The way that we speak, that is who we are. If we're speaking such negative things about ourselves, um, that also attracts those people, even if we're amazing people. Because when we're amazing people, and when I mean like when you're genuine, when you are loving, have kind of like that, I would say like you're empathetic, you're an empath, or you're caring, or you care about helping others. Sometimes people can see that, good and bad people can see that, and they come towards you. And you have to have good discernment to check out who those people are and what people's intentions are. But speaking about yourself and respecting yourself and loving yourself and knowing how amazing you are, because you are amazing, is so important. So those are things that in my journey of self-love and just self-acceptance too, because I feel like it's also accepting yourself and knowing what your needs are, knowing what you want out of life, knowing what kind of friendships, relationships you want, knowing what you prioritize and what's important to you. Those are things that I feel like is a good checklist to know if you really are doing that, if you're really respecting yourself and valuing yourself and taking care of yourself. If you need to take a mental day to take care of yourself, do so. Everything else will continue functioning, I promise. If you literally can only handle one thing for the day because you are very overwhelmed, or if your body is giving you signs that you're going crazy and like you're having headaches, like that happened to me the other day, that I was just very overwhelmed, very stressed out, and literally I was having a migraine that literally I had to go lay in bed because I just couldn't continue. Like I couldn't continue. And I got half of the stuff done out of my day, but that was okay because the next day I was able to do other things. Um, so, I want you to make sure that you take care of yourself, that you take care of your soul, and you take care of your heart, and just make sure to guard it, and to make sure that the things that you're doing are either bringing you peace, bringing you joy, in your everyday, and you're having also people around you that that bring out and flourish that. Is life always going to be easy and are things always going to be great? No, but having that internal peace with yourself is very important. And like that at night, I always think about that because I feel like at night you just start getting you start thinking about stuff, like random stuff. So at night, making sure you feel peace and that you are at rest, and if you need ways to do so, finding a hobby or finding something that you're passionate about, reading, having candles, a spa day, but it's like all that stuff is external stuff, but I'm talking about like more internally, because I feel like we deal with our internal dialogue more than our external. So I really wanted to share this message with you. I hope that you get something out of it, and just remember that if you are whole and good and healthy on the inside, it will flourish and show on the outside. So make sure to invest that time, to figure out. And if you don't know what your needs are, if you don't know, maybe you're feeling iffy about how you're feeling around certain people or doing certain things, take a second to think about that and evaluate. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. I hope you guys have a great week, and make sure to subscribe to this podcast, leave a review, and make sure to follow me at Elizabeth Savvy. So I hope you have a great week. Take care.